Hi guys, welcome again. Hopefully you're having a good one. I'm joined with a special guest again. A lot of these are special, but one of these is pretty special. One of the founding members again. You had Harth, and now you have.
Hmm. Blazing Paladin. Yes, my name is Chris, also known as Blazing Paladin within the community. I've been playing Vanguard for over 7 years right now. Started at the end of Limit Break, and about 4 years ago we came up with the idea to start crushing the meta, and now here we are.
Nice, nice. So what's it like been like for you, getting to Vanguard? What was one of what was one of the reasons that got you into it actually?
Dragon Ruler format in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the easiest explanation. I was playing at the current time. Just playing some casual decks. I didn't want to spend the money cap that was required to play on top tables. And I was getting wrecked by Draco Sec every match, and then some cards were stolen, and then I quit. I'm going to do something else with my time. So in the end, I started playing with some friends in Harlem. I saw on Saturdays when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I saw them playing some other games, and it was very interesting. And I ended up joining that game community and played there for over 2 years until that died out eventually. Yeah, everyone was getting older. It's usual stuff.
Fair enough, fair enough. But you persevered. You still kept on going even through all of it, and you met up with Harth though. So how was the whole process of you, a player in Harlem in Netherlands, meeting up with another player, and saying, you know what, you're gonna be kind of cool, a team. How did that happen?
I think we met online on the trading forums once or twice because he was trading like crazy, and I was during that time also trading around decks like it was nothing. And eventually we met each other in a tournament. Well, we played Legion, and we talked some more and more, and eventually we were looking at the current state of what Vanguard was offering for YouTubers, because we have a lot of YouTubers, but we don't have the same thing. We didn't have the same thing at the time for Vanguard. And we were looking at what we had to play at that time, because Harth was playing Spike Brothers. I was around that time busy with Bluish Flames. And we looked at the meta and we said, well, every channel that was currently airing at the time was heavily promoting the top table decks, because that was the easy views, the easy catch-ups. And we looked at that from, well, why aren't the underdog decks performing as well as those? And is that something with consistency issues? Which obviously it is, because some decks are more equal than others. But on the other hand, we did the same thing as those top table decks without the support that we had. And that gave us the idea to promote the lower tier decks to the level that they could compete with top tier decks. That's how we came up with the name eventually, with Crushing the Meta, because we wanted to promote the decks that were able to stand up against the Royal Paladins at the time, the Kagero the Great, Overlord, the Cross. Jewel Knights was around that time very booming. And eventually we met at my place in Brazil, and we made our first video at that time, which was our first match with Bluish Flame and Spy Brothers, the Ogres.
Nice. So a lot of people who probably don't know about what a lot of these mechanics are is, or anybody who's also been playing Vanguard Zero or has been missing a lot of these core stuff. So Legion is more or less having two units sharing one position in the Vanguard circle during that time. You guys are going to be getting that sometime soon in the near future. And that's going to be a very interesting mechanic you guys are going to be engaging in for some of you Zero players, and for some of you old veteran players. Those were the days that a lot of the decks were pretty prevalent at the time, like stuff like Sing Savior, the Great, I guess, or let's see, was also pretty strong at the time. I guess Die
Um,
Kaiser
Flash-
Legion, I guess, was also pretty
and
scary too.
it was a bit. It was a bit later. We had the Battleborgs prevalent at the time with
Yeah,
Simbusters.
yeah, that
That
was
was
also
really
pretty hit.
annoying.
Yeah.
The downside was that not every deck had the same support because you had Link Jokers, Kagero, Spike Brothers, Grand Blue, New Nectar.
Hmm.
And I think I'm missing something, but I got Paladin as well. Those were the only decks that got the true Legion support at the time. Some were around the benchmark of actually being viable. There were a lot of Perdition players at the tournaments. There were a lot of Thingsaver players. You saw some witches, Shadow Paladin witches at the time. Revengers was still very huge. And Genesis was very prevalent. So yeah, that was not fun for everyone at the time because some clans could bring their support from the Break Rite, Limit Break era back to Legion, which made them a lot faster.
Hmm.
That was the state at the time. And at the start of G, which was also Legion was very favorable at the start of G because the power creep wasn't really set in. The game was a lot slower, and the strides weren't as strong as certain Legion abilities. Because you could draw 2 cards with OTT, but you can also do other stuff with Legion at the time. Yeah. It was a bit win more strategies, the G zone at the time.
In comparison to how it is now, or how it became a lot stronger now, where oftentimes you can end up biting the dust at first stride nowadays, which is it's a bit scary. It's a bit scary.
Hard reality.
Yeah, indeed, it is a harsh reality indeed. Which one of the eras do you think that has been the most fun that you've played in so far?
I think I like the Legion format the most, actually. I think that during Break Rite era, I didn't play before that. I had certain decks from that era, but the moment I really started contributing at tournaments was the start of Break Rite. And I found Break Rite fun, but it was basically a very slow paced game at the stage of around 3 damage, which was really dragging out, and I didn't find that much appealing. And I found that the game state with Legion was very fun because there were certain things that you have to keep track of. Your heal triggers in the damage zone, your PGs in the damage zone, the cards that you wanted to guard with, the drop zone that you want to manage. It were all kind of stuff that you have to keep track during your game plan, and even then you could still hit or miss, which was very challenging at certain points. The first national championship here in Holland was also mostly played by the Legion's format early G, and even G at the time was very slow because you eventually had to wait until grade 3 and then the play started happening. Mm-hmm. And it didn't suit me that much. And well, during the end of G, then Gear Chronicle became cancerous. Night Rose was everywhere. You had basically the top 3 decks, and eventually they fixed it a bit, but I never found that format too appealing, and with Standard it is a bit too linear for my taste, but I can still enjoy it from time to time.
Of course, because then you still can. It isn't as fast as the end of G, I guess, became at some given point in time.
I think Standard is now faster than the end of G, because some abilities are going off at grade 3 with your opponent's Vanguard at grade 2, and that can really give a blowout in certain scenarios.
Ah, okay. So like the first grade 3 Rider going first in Standard, in your opinion, is probably the most devastating sometimes.
Yeah, I think that the opponent that has the first grade 3 Rider often has the best chance of winning, because some decks still require the grade 3 in Soul, and right now with the new support, we are finally seeing decks that can bring the heat on the second turn due to just copying the Vanguard's ability, putting the grade 3 into the Soul, which finally give those decks also enough speed to compete with them. But I still think that certain decks, like Excel decks on first Great Rewrite, are just blowing everything out the waters. So I think that it's faster right now, for my point of view.
Okay. What would be some of the tips you'd probably give to those type of players then who feel like they can't really do too much to those type of first turn decks? What would be some of the strategies that you've learned in your experience in all of your years of playing Vanguard of all formats of all years?
I think that resource management and controlling your opponent's resource management can win you a lot of games. I've seen it in break right era, where the break rights were really strong, and you needed to have the first one. So you had strategies like blowing your interceptors, your opponent's interceptors away, and just swinging Vanguard to rearguard just to get the upper hand. And if your opponent was smart enough, he wouldn't place any rearguards. And if he did, then you were just passing or something else. And with Legion, you couldn't do anything about it because you can just guard it and gain 4 cards in the drop zone. G has the same problem, but it was very counterblast heavy, so you had to think about what's coming up next turn. There's some strategies you have to keep in mind for the whole duration of G. And now even with standard, their decks have limited resource management in Soul in counter blasts cards in hand. And I played Nubatama for most of V at the moment. Might change after the next set, but who knows?
Oh, how so? What has been your favorite clan up until this point, actually?
I think that the Liberator Blue Flame deck was my most favorite deck. I think that Shadow Witches was the second, but during the end of during midway of G, those decks were no longer supported, so I had to search for another deck, and I switched decks like 1, 2, 3, 4 like crazy, and eventually I found that Nubatama, and that's what I stick to this moment. So this is my collection. That is my collection deck.
Okay, so it makes sense why you're named Blaze Paladin. So I guess that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I still have my really old Legion Rare pair. I recently got it back because I gave it to a friend of mine, and he is terminally ill right now, so that's really sad actually. But he gave me my old deck back, so I still have these two within my collection. I don't know if it's visible with the glare, but
no, we can see it. We can see the Legion Rares. Legion Rares are
those were my favorite art and my favorite cards from the moment they were announced and revealed.
Okay. So talking about the favorite cards and stuff, this is going to be a good segue to the viewers at home. So don't forget to comment down below in the video your favorite card and your favorite clan to get a chance to get a card signed by your favorite content creators. Chris also has a favorite card he probably is going to be having signed for you. So, Chris, what was the card you chose?
I chose my Prominence Core, not the Legion Rare. I have another copy of it, of course. Maybe if I find 4 Legion Rares, I might sacrifice one. But for now, I will sign a Prominence Core for the giveaway.
Nice. So now you get a sneak peek as what you could probably end up getting as being cool, awesome people subscribing to our channel, getting into thousands subscribers that we currently have today. We also have over 1,000 followers on Facebook, so thank you guys for that one as well. That has been super awesome.
It really grew strong.
And Chris is actually our leading moderator for that Facebook page, actually.
Yeah,
how's that been for you?
Yeah, it was fun actually. I had to spend a lot of time studying the last couple of years, and there was some other stuff beside that, which cost me a lot of time. So I wasn't able to make videos on a weekly basis or even monthly basis. So I decided to contribute to the channel in another way, which meant taking over the Facebook page and controlling that and posting the card of the days, sometimes streams, depends on if I have the time to make it. And there were some projects, but they went back on the schedule. Actually, there were some side quests that I wanted to do on the page.
Okay. So hopefully, keep your eyes on that, guys. Who knows? It might come down the pipeline sometime soon. Maybe not. Maybe something nice we could do for you guys next year. Hopefully. So
I think that at the start of next year, I will contribute a lot more on the Facebook page, other than the card of the day and some reveals and other stuff. Might want to do something with the nostalgic side of Vanguard, because what I currently see on the page, community pages, is that a lot of fans are really hyped to see old cards back, but some players don't know about certain eras where the card were very prevalent in the meta. So I might want to do a little side project, and that is taking one card out and talk about the card back in the days when it was wrecking the meta instead of Vanguard, just years back.
Oh.
A little bit of
so retrospective.
A little bit of yes. Let's say Chaos Breaker. How intense was Chaos Breaker during its prime? And its prime was actually very long. And that for Azul, Vanquisher, Vermilion, the end, and take a little bit of Vanguard history for the newer players, and let them enjoy what their cards were already doing before they were playing.
Nice. Well, a few of the players that are currently playing in Vanguard Zero are also going to be experiencing the Link Joker era that's coming up really soon now. Folding Sword being one of the first reversed units that we've had in the series when the Void was released on the worlds, and Blaster Blade, Blaster Dark, and the Gold Paladins were being introduced and stuff. So that'll be super interesting to see. Have you been playing any Vanguard Zero actually? And if so, what did you think about the game?
I have played it for a couple of weeks actually, and I dropped it afterwards. I enjoyed the real card. Not really. Other than card games, I'm not really much of a gamer. That's why I'm not having a normal headset, and I'm not really playing any mobile games or so.
That's fine.
I found it funny to experiment with it in the first couple of weeks, but when I saw my daily missions and all that sort of kind of stuff, and the farming that some people had to do just to get some cards, I was like, no, I'm not going to. I'll just stick with the normal card game. It's already hard enough to bling my decks there.
Fair enough. Actually, a lot of people who wouldn't know, Chris is a connoisseur of special rarity cards. Could you tell us about some of the changes of decks and stuff that you've had, or whatever you want to divulge? You can say skip the question, because then it'll expose maybe some of your financial decisions. But want to tell us a bit about some of your SPs and stuff you collected over the years?
I have collected quite a lot of SPs. It all started with some of the. This is a story that I'm still being reminded of by most of my Vanguard friends. Mega Colony. Yes. Mega Colony was a deck that I played from the moment that it was released, because I really liked the OG Dark Phase style of interrupting my opponent's plays during the turn. So eventually, I built it, I sold it, and then the next set came, and I built it and I sold it. Until the Mega Colony hype was tingling again, and I bought the deck again. So eventually I decided that, because I wanted the deck very badly, and I wanted to give it some commitment on my part, so I wouldn't sell it again during 2 months. I decided to bling out the deck, which was, in the beginning it was fine because the PGs were cheap, and the main grade 3 was also very available at the time. But then came the Strides, and I have it in my I have it in my room, but I took it out of the glass because I wanted to show it to you because the card that gave me the most pain and heart as well because that's the clue of the story was the Merciless Darkface SPs. I had two at the time.
Yes.
And the set was really hard to find, and just like Reckless Rampage, there were not a lot of booster boxes opened. So I set my quest on to find the last two, and eventually I found them in Australia, in a web shop. Yes. This is the real commitment. So if I didn't have my credit cards at that time, so I asked Harth, so yo, bro, can you help me out because I want to finish this collection. And I paid 60 euros the piece for these. This is the most until now the most money I've spent for a card up till now. And I'll tell you why it's the most because the financial pain still needs to come. I bought them for 60 euros a piece. Harth was eventually hacked, and he lost some money due to his credit. He lost some money from his credit card. It was really painful. Eventually, after 3 months, they finally arrived here, and I got almost 50 euros in transaction. What's this called again?
Do you mean shipping, handling?
Handling, extra shipping costs because the shipping was already 30 euros, and then I got another 60 euros on top of it, or 30. So eventually these two costed me 90 euros the piece. And the funny, it was painful, but I got it eventually. But after that, I sold the deck again, but without those because I could not do it too hard to sell these again. So I kept these in my collection, and they're never going away because the moment they leave my house, I think I will get murdered.
So Harth is probably looking intently right now through the editing file. I'm just gonna probably turn the camera. Yes, I will.
It will not surprise me if we get an edit halt midway and they'll damn right you're getting murdered if they leave. But yeah, the cards are framed. The cards are framed right now because they deserve a special place in my room, and just to have the reminder that I dig myself in this financial rabbit hole just to get my collection complete.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that after 2 years of owning the deck still left me. So I no longer have my economy again.
It's still like longer than most of the decks you've held on to. So it's still a good motivation for anybody who still wants to bling out their deck, that if you want to, go for it. It's going to be a bit of a pain, it's going to be a bit of financial wreck, but it's about the adventure, I guess, right? You had a really cool adventure, you ordered cards from all the way through Australia.
Never going to do that again.
Nice.
And the stupid part is, and that's the clue of the story, I built Mega Colony Max Rarity twice.
Oh boy. Awesome.
Yeah. Mistakes were made. But in the end, I only have Nubatama Max Rarity right now, and I'm collecting everything. So the next set in November will be a financial disaster.
But again. I mean, you can prepare for it though. This time, you're fine.
Yeah, I did. I prepared for it. I've really set a lot of money aside, and then living on a small hand, and then not really committing from my financial backside. So I'm gonna make it, but with my purchase. But it's still, every time I look at my savings, I think, I could have done so many other things with it.
And that's the thing with a hobby, though. You're just kind of watching your money. You're like, God, I could have probably bought like a car with this, or I could have already like put a down payment on a different apartment and living somewhere else. I could have probably bought a driver's license or something. Oh my Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I'm looking at right now around 1,000 euros.
Yeah, just to get the Max Rarity deck. Yeah,
that's the 3 play sets because thank God, Nubatama is very cheap regularly, and afterwards around a play set of everything. So yeah, I might do a profile around that time, showcasing my next little baby.
Nice. Your financial adventure that you invested in.
Yeah, my financial car wreck.
Well, talking about car wrecks, and you do have an iron competitive Vanguard. Could you walk us through some of the most competitive events that you've played in, some of your most intense wins, your matchups, your rivals, anything you would like to tell us about?
Yeah, I think I played the first couple of years at locals in Arnhem, Leiden. Also had a small community. Haarlem had a smaller one. Sometimes I played in Rotterdam. But when the moment that I started playing at the bigger stages, the BCS's in Cologne, Antwerpen. I think that one of my matches in Eindhoven during the BCS in 2017, on the top of my head, I'm not quite sure. I think that was the year that Harth didn't go to Worlds and Duo did. I had a fourth round match against Tim, the Great Nature player from our channel, and I was a little bit iffy of if I wanted to continue Vanguard because the trail of the game was a bit lost. And we started playing the game, and eventually we came to the point that the hard decision had to be made. I had to commit to certain strategies and just to gain the win. And in the backside of my head, I was already, if I started committing to this, I'm lost if I don't succeed. And that was one of the first matches in a really long while that I finally felt the thrill of the game again, and that is one of the matches I will never forget.
Aww.
And it's really cute. And the same thing with Irfan Yaseger. It's one of most of the older players like Harth, Ramon will know him because he was also a judge at the time of the national championship. He was a really strong player with Kagero, with Link Joker, and at the time when we faced off with each other almost every weekend, we were playing the Cross versus Bluish Flames, and it was a best of 3 series. And most of the times, those matches were the highlight of the day because we played for most of the times more than an hour, and it was always overtime. And those were the most thrilling matches because it was tactics and more mind games and more over it, and that is something that grabbed me, and that I wanted to commit more to the game and play a lot more. In my latest, in the later years, I don't know if it's just because of my experience in the game, but most of the times I already had the insight of knowing what to do around turn 2 for the rest of my game plan. And I found out that took some entertainment away. And I was not surprised by most of the things that I saw, and I think that was something that I had in my early years. That gave me a lot of excitement, a lot of thrills, shaking hands that you were finished with your game and you felt like, I felt like I run a mile. And I think that the last highlight that I had was in Berlin 2 years ago with our first championship there. That was the second round, the semi-finals, and the opponent was playing Pilmoon, and he was really strong. Every opponent that day was really intense, and he was playing the Betty loop, I believe, at the time. And I knew that if I made the wrong mistake, I would lose, and it was calculating what would you do, and that was also very intense match. The end was a bit anticlimactic because I pushed him on my second strike out of the match, but the build up to that turn was really stressful because I did not play against that deck for a couple of months, and I didn't know what to expect, and I only had certain cards in mind, and knowing how to interrupt them. But yeah, it was really intense, and I still love that match. And when I think about it, it's still fun. Yeah, I don't know how I did it, but it's really fun that I did.
Nice. Well, that's good. That's good. So then, like, what has been?
Although we can't forget my rivalry with Harth, because that's also something that's going on for around 6 years right now.
Nice. So you do value him as like one of the strongest players you've probably played against, then, if not the.
Every time it's like, it's. I think in the casual matches, we're both really relaxed and we don't really care about our plays, but we still are committed to play our best. But in tournament matches, it was always head or tails. I decked him out with Mega Colony. He completely destroyed me again with his Spike Brothers against my Nubatama. I haven't played against him for a while in tournaments, but the ones that we did were always on the line and basically in the end on the flip of a trigger.
Fair enough. Nice. So then, what would be some of your best tips for people who are probably on the edge and thinking about, like, right now, because of the global situation, you can't really go to tournaments these days, and it's very tricky to even go to locals and stuff like that. But what would be some of the best ideas you probably want to give newer players? Because we oftentimes get those questions. You oftentimes also get the questions too, I would think, of players who want to get into competitive Vanguard. What would be some of the guidelines you think they'd need?
I think it's very important to play your deck as much as possible. If you have a certain deck that you want to take to tournaments or even bigger tournaments, make those hours. It really pays off, because you can't afford the time to think about most of your basic moves during tournament plays, because those minutes will count up by the end of the round. You don't want to hit overtime. So practice is a very important thing, and what also isn't very important, and which I already stated earlier, is that you need to have a basic understanding of what your opponent is about to do and how you can interrupt their resource management. If they need a lot of counterblast, cut off their counterblast. Do they need soul? You can't interrupt that, but there are some ways that you can set yourself up for your opponent to make a minus to just gain the upper hand. And that is also very important. Keep trigger checks. Know what your opponent has in hand. It's a really tough thing to learn in the beginning. But I think if you practice those things enough times during casual play, just to focus on what is he doing, what are the options, and what do I want to do next. That gives you more than enough information to set up your game plan and find your winning image in that. Because if you miss a sentinel trigger on the drive check and you're starting to push for game, you'll lose, because if you're going to set up everything into the one or two attacks, it's getting PG'd, or your effort is to waste. And by keeping track of certain cards, you can eventually know when to push and when to hold off the attack. And maybe that's a bit harder right now in standard due to the limited card pool you have for certain decks and limited strategies. But I still think that if you manage those components, so you have to learn your deck, you have to know what your opponent wants to do, and you have to know how to interrupt certain resource management. I think that you can very easily see your growth skyrocket.
Oh, okay, good. That sounds like a really cool thing, man. Thanks. I'll keep that in mind in my next tournament I attend. Thank you very much. No, but thank you, Chris, for coming on today. Is there like any other things that you want to lay on us before we?
I don't think I don't think you need it.
Anything else you wanna tell the viewers at home? Any other like parting words you wanna give? Anywhere they can find you, either on Twitter or on Facebook or anything like that you're willing to divulge for us, or just any parting things.
I'm almost only active at Facebook right now because I don't have Twitter and I don't have Instagram or stuff. But yeah, I hope that you will enjoy our content in the future with the project that we have. I hope that you will keep on playing, and I hope to see some people on bigger tournaments. And yeah, let's see. Don't I really have much to add, actually.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you guys at home for watching us as well. Don't forget, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Because without you guys, you know, this is all for naught, you know? This is what we're doing. We'd like to thank you guys for supporting us through all this time, through the years. Be awesome, stay awesome, have a wonderful day. Thank y'all for tuning out. This is JJ and
Blazing Paladin. And, see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye. We're from Train Crushing the Meta, and we see you guys the next time.
Bye, guys.